Ahoy, fellow commemorative plate collectors!
And welcome aboard the Joy of Trek, an acid punk podcast exploring the seedy bars and dumb jot tables of Star Trek, all of it. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
And crawling through the Jefferies tubes is your chief engineer, Greg.
Together, we're on a mission through the Black Mountains of Star Trek to find the sexy bad boys in every pirate outpost and the good in every episode.
Even the libido posts.
Because every episode must be someone's favorite, and it might as well be us.
So hold on to your family heirlooms and join us as we prepare for ramming speed into the Joy of Trek.
Hold on to your family heirlooms.
Yes.
And prepare for ramming speed. Wow.
Well, at least it's the heirlooms and not the jewels.
Oh, I think we're now officially completing our collection of every series of Star Trek, officially licensed Star Trek ever made.
Is this the last one?
Yeah, this is Lower Decks, specifically Season 2, Episode 3, We'll Always Have Tom Paris.
Yes.
First aired August 26, 2021, written by M. Willis, directed by Bob Suarez, and guest starring Robert Duncan McNeil, the other RDM, as Lieutenant Tom Paris.
Yes. They've been doing a lot of, well, not a lot of, but more crossover episodes in recent years, haven't we? I mean, there's the crossover episode between Lower Decks and
Strange New Worlds,
yes, which I thought was hilarious.
Mixing some timelines.
Yes.
It was very, very exciting. Yeah. I guess, between DS9 and Voyager, when they were on the air, for understandable reasons, there wasn't a lot of crossover, what with Voyager being stuck on the arse end of the Delta Quadrant.
That, yes.
But between Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, it was really quite conspicuous, the distance between those shows. They very, very rarely had a crossover.
Yeah, I mean, later, after Next Generation quit, of course, some of the actors got reassigned to DS9.
Worf.
Yes.
Oh, what a fantastic addition.
And Bryno.
Oh, yeah, well, Bryno went straight there.
Yeah.
I love Bryno. So this episode was recommended to us by our very own chief engineer, who recorded his letter of recommendation, and you can send us your own, by the way, if you have an episode in mind.
We would love to hear from you, love to hear why it is an episode that,
especially that
has a particular... it doesn't have to be a fantastic episode or a great episode, but we want to know why it is an episode that touches you or moves you in some sort of way.
Yeah. So that's joyoftrek.com/links. You can find all the links there, including to our Patreon, where we've got some fun little content as well. But so I'm stalling a little bit. I really want to hear what Greg has to say about this episode.
Can you tell us your reasons for the choices for this episode, Chief Engineer?
There's a couple different reasons I could have chosen this episode. I could have chosen it because of the return of Tom Paris, and it's so great to see Robert Duncan McNeil again.
Yes.
Tendi arc. I could have chosen it because it's Shax, and I love Fred Attachor. He's a fantastic voice actor who's been in so much. I could have done it for a lot of things, but maybe I just chose this because I too know the pain of going through a lot of effort and struggle for your cat, only for them to say, "Hey, I just want the box."
Yeah. I think every cat owner can sympathize with that one.
Because in this episode, Ensigns Mariner and Tendi of the USS Cerritos, which is the star of Star Trek Lower Decks, for those who may not be familiar with it, an animated comedy series that is essentially like this podcast, but then like a lot better and
with more budget and
more
animation,
budget and more talented people
involved.
Involved.
Better voice actors.
Yeah, actual stories and thoughts that go into it. But anyway, Mariner and Tendi team up for a mission to retrieve an heirloom for Dr. Tiana. Meanwhile, the Cerritos is visited by Lieutenant Tom Paris, much to the excitement of Boimler, who is hoping to meet him. While all this happens, Rutherford is haunted by the mystery surrounding the reappearance of a familiar presence on the Cerritos. Ooh, 3 plots running for an animated series with a running time of like 22 minutes.
Yeah, it felt much longer. It's like definitely not like a brief 20-minute segment, because they squeezed a lot of content in.
I had trouble writing notes, because you don't spend a lot of time in a scene and get to see background stuff.
Oh, yes, very true.
Blink and you'll miss it, write something down and you'll miss the next thing. The tempo is amazing on this show.
Yes, we open with Boimler, who is back on the Cerrito apparently after having been away. I've watched some of this show, but definitely not all of it.
Well, he served for a little bit on the USS Titan under Captain William Riker.
Oh, right.
Yeah, abandoning the rest of... Which shift are they again? Are they beta shift?
Nobody knows it better than Beta Shift.
Thanks, Chief. But yes, he's the purple-haired ensign and member of this gang of 4. You've got Ensign Beckett Mariner, who turns out to be secretly the daughter of the captain.
Yeah.
Bradwood Boiler,
that's not very secret. That comes out in like the first episode, isn't it?
True.
Yeah.
We have Bradward, it's such a great name. His friend Samanthan Rutherford, who's the cyborg engineer, or I should say cybernetically enhanced engineer. And Tendi, as it turns out, Ensign Devana Tendi.
Yes.
The Orion science officer who's trying very, very hard indeed.
I mean, this opening scene where first Boimler, we discover that there's some issues with clearances. Security's been tightened up, and apparently his return to the roster is not completely gone properly because...
Computer, papusa, hot.
User not recognized.
It's Ensign Boimler, come on.
User not recognized.
Can you, hurry it up?
Yeah.
He takes this as a personal insult from the ship, almost, as we discover later in the episode.
Yeah. This is one of those comedy tropes where someone has an easily solvable problem that for inexplicable reasons they refuse to solve and so suffer through, and you get this comedy of errors. I'm not sure whether that's going to be my warp core, though, because I kind of like it, and I can relate as well.
I mean, let me see. Oh, yeah, we completely forgot about dumping the warp core.
I've got nothing.
I say we eject the warp core!
Yeah, I mean, I've got, maybe a few little things. In one of the scenes where this problem comes to light, and when he's fighting, he can't get into the turbo lift.
Right, yeah.
But he can get into the Jeffries tube. Because, of course, Titan security doesn't involve Jeffries tubes. You can just, open one up and get to anywhere on the ship.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a thing. And there's, a scene that comes up very early on where the security officer, I think, he orders a hot dog with kiwi ketchup.
Computer. Ketchup. Spicy kiwi.
And everybody is horrified, and they're like, "Oh, you don't mess with ketchup." And it's like, "I am sorry, that is exactly what you do with ketchup." There is a reason it is called tomato ketchup, because originally ketchup was made from mushrooms.
Wait, what?
Ketchup is the kind of sauce. It's like the process and the sauce. And that's why tomato ketchup is a thing. It's these days it's more or less synonymous with tomato ketchup. If you say
you're
ketchup.
blowing my mind.
But yes, originally ketchup was mushrooms. Well, and you can make any sauce from pretty much anything. You can make ketchup from... It's like salsa. You can have
Oh, yeah, or consommé.
Yeah.
It's the worst cooking video that I've ever seen, where an enthusiastic woman explains that consommé
is a clear, rich soup traditionally made with beef or chicken. But you can make it with just about anything, including my favorite.
And this is where I pause the video. And then the person that I show it to, I tell them, I will give you $1 million if you guess it right. You get 3 guesses. Second guess, $10,000. Third guess, $20 from my pocket right now. And they never get it because what this woman says, including my favorite consommé...
Doritos.
Doritos.
Yes.
But we're not doing Doritos today. We're doing hold on. No, I'm stuck on ketchup. What's then the defining characteristic of mushroom ketchup?
I mean, guess it's
what
saucy?
makes a sauce a ketchup?
That's a good question. I never looked into that.
Huh.
But it's definitely ketchup used to be mushrooms, and then it later that's why tomato ketchup.
So you got tomato, vinegar, bit of sugar.
Yeah, I mean you can do
those are the basic concepts.
Yeah, and then you can just you can go nuts. You can go
nuts.
Curry sauce like curry gewürze. That's just tomato ketchup with curry powder in it.
Okay.
Essentially.
So what you're saying is that nothing means anything, and there are no definite boundaries, and just anything can be anything.
I mean, like I said, you can make a salsa with different ingredients, and you make ketchup with different things.
You do potato ketchup.
I guess a ketchup is probably a mostly liquid condiment.
Can this table be ketchup?
Well, if you can turn it into a liquid
microphone ketchup, yeah.
And now we're getting into Will It Blend territory, which is
Will It Ketchup?
Yeah.
But that was your warp core.
Well, that was true.
Yeah, no,
it is a segment that we used to do. So
I
kind of have to if I have to critique something or anything, then that's about the only thing that I can seriously try to pick my fingers at.
Oh, then it is going to be my warp core. Just solve the problem. Talk to someone.
Yeah, I mean,
why are you tolerating
He
these
literally
problems?
gets told this,
Get Bobs to put you back in the system.
Go to the sysadmin, and he'll go oh yeah, that's right. I reactivated your account, but I didn't flag the authorizations or something.
Yes.
Or the other way around, I put all the authorizations back on your account, but I didn't activate it. It's like something stupid like that.
There's always a little gap like that.
Yes. Okay, back to, you say try hard, and this feeds straight back into my theory that everybody in Starfleet is overachievers. Because,
there's 20% workahol in the atmosphere processors.
And then, because our Orion security engineer, Ensign Tenley?
Tendi. And she's a science officer in her blue uniform, sitting there munching her kibble.
And she's like, I have to do this and I have to do that, and like all these things I have to do before my shift start. And I'm like, no, that's stuff that you do for work. That's on your shift. But no, she has to do them before her shift because she's been passed up for a promotion by the doctor, and she needs to work twice as hard now, even more so.
Yep, and apparently somebody else was given a promotion, but because they had the opportunity to cure...
Ensign Escher.
Cool name. Hopefully named after the fantastic Dutch artist.
Yeah.
Don't your parents have an original etching by Escher?
Yes, it's an original print.
Yeah. And I think you told me the story that your father actually met MC Escher, right?
Yes, at one point he asked if he could come over to have a look at his work and maybe make some purchase. So he invited them over to his house, and
this is wild.
He showed them around a bit and like showed them a few of his work. And my father, I think he selected 3 or 4 works. And he was like, you shouldn't buy those the original prints. They're way too expensive. Just get the copies. They're just as good. They're just as nice, and they're much cheaper.
Like a real artist.
Yeah.
In fact, the digital prints are they're kind of better.
Right. I think my dad was in his early 20s at the time, so he was. He had a good eye for art. Yes.
Speaking of heirlooms, right?
Right. Yes. I think there were 3 or 4. They sold all but one because some of them were starting to deteriorate. There's the material, the color was starting to fade and stuff, so better to sell them now when the going's still good. The one that they still have left is Day and Night, the one with the birds flying over the fields.
Oh, I know that. Oh, God. I remember, not to suddenly become an art appreciation podcast, but for those of you who aren't familiar, MC Escher is known for making fantastically, mathematically celebratory drawings, sometimes of, organic tile patterns that are repeating, but also morph into different animals. They're very familiar. That's one of these examples.
Yes.
But also impossible architecture. He went to visit the Alhambra, a fantastic mosque in Spain.
Was that Spain? Oh, sorry. I thought for some reason I would have said Istanbul, but yeah.
It's a European mosque from the Ottoman period. Chief, can I get a quick fact check on that?
Yes, that's correct. The Alhambra is a Spanish mosque. There are some signs that it may have been built on top of Roman settlements as well, but that's not conclusive either. There's just a skull that seems to date to that time found in there. But yes, Spanish mosque.
Thank you. And he was just blown away by these beautiful tile works. And he lamented how sad it was for the world of art that these amazing Muslim artists were forbidden by their faith from drawing living things.
Right.
How much more beautiful, in his perspective, as a Dutch non-Muslim person, the Alhambra could have been if they were allowed to draw animals. And that's what he really wanted to do. And so he made these amazing sort of interlocking animals. There's really, really fantastic stuff.
So
Star Trek.
Yes, Star Trek podcast.
Boimler's trying to order food. There's a line behind him while he's trying to just get food, hot, anything. Yeah, pleading with
and
the
he
computer.
ends up in the bonsai.
Did you see him picking that?
We have the security officer. I think it is. I'm not entirely sure what the senior management roles are on board the ship.
I'll help you out. Just point at them, and I'll tell you.
It's the guy who died.
The big Bajoran buff bear.
Right.
Shax. Lieutenant Shax.
Lieutenant Shax, yes.
Shax is alive?
Yeah, guess so. Bridge officers are always coming back from the dead. You gonna finish that muffin?
But how?
I thought he was dead. I mean, he died saving me. He's really concerned about how concerned that is. But yes, apparently you're not allowed to ask. Apparently it's a social faux pas. Bridge crew always comes back.
I know. This is such a lampshade.
It is fantastic. They basically at one point later on in the episode, they list every way in which a character who has died in Star Trek has, come back to life again.
Yes. Including one of them reconstructed by the Borg. I think William Shatner wrote a follow-up novel to Kirk's death in Generations, where he was secretly reconstructed and revived by the Borg, so he wouldn't have to have died like a chump.
Yeah. And then the other
Samuel
ones
L. Jackson would have never played that role.
No.
He had the specific demand when he was invited to play Jedi that he would die gloriously and not like some sucker.
Yeah. So yes, there's being resuscitated from a transport buffer, evil universe copy, transfer.
He looked so good in his sleeveless tunic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a few more.
Son from a future timeline.
Oh, that's another one, yes.
Right, referencing Tasha Yar, who came back as Sela, her own daughter.
We are cloned because...
Bad clones!
Yes.
Actually, that's a huge theme in this episode. Not taking the direct path to a problem, like neither giving up on the problem nor actually solving it in the way that one ought to, because you're trying to avoid something about the direct path.
Yeah.
There's something that's objectionable about it.
So, after the opening credits...
I love the opening credits.
We get, yes, it's just like, it's just stupid. It's like
no.
asteroids bouncing off the shields.
New segment. We don't know what it's called yet, but what's your favorite bit of the opening credits? It's not a game that we can play with very many series.
No.
So we have, like, stellar matter being sucked into the sun.
No, it's a black hole.
A black hole, pardon me. Yes, you're right. I see the disc now.
That's what I was going to say. That's the one thing that I love, because like a year or two ago, maybe 3 by now, that's always hard to... it's definitely not in the before times, I think. There was some science was done, and they actually produced a graphical render of what in black hole would actually look like.
Oh, I think you're talking about... That science was integrated in the Christopher Nolan film Interstellar.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
In 2014.
Right.
With one exception.
Long? Wow.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
so in the before times.
Yeah, definitely in the before times.
We're in the time zones. No, correct me on that, Chief.
Somewhat confused what I'm correcting you on. Yes, Interstellar came out in 2014, so yes, in the before times. Is that what I'm correcting you on?
Yeah, thank you. Whoa,
right. No, I was thinking about
there's one thing missing.
Yeah?
Half of it should be red and half of it should be blue.
Oh, yes.
Because of redshift, because the thing is spinning.
Yeah.
And at such a speed that the photons from one side are like significantly slowed down versus the other side are accelerated. It was something that was omitted from the film just so it wouldn't be even more complicated.
Right. So there's the asteroid bouncing, there's the clipping the ice rod, which is fantastic. There's the being sucked on by the space alien who's like nursing from the warp nacelles.
Guiltily looks at the camera, which is my favorite bit.
I think that the fact...
And the space battle, the huge space battle.
My favorite is that one. There's like they're fighting the Borg cube and they take one shot, which is perfectly hit on the cells.
And they nope out.
And they turn tail and like bravely bold Sir Robin flew away from Wolf 359, you know? It's like...
There's a Pac-led ship here as well. I just noticed it the other day as I was just toward the end of season 4. Every season, this battle gets worse.
Oh, okay, that's...
Pay attention, like by the time of season 4, there's the Star Trek 4 whale probe is there. The crystalline entity from Star Trek The Next Generation. It just turns into more of a dumpster fire.
Everybody's getting in on the fight.
It's the warp... nacelle parasite
for you, yeah.
Because it's not even. I don't even know if it's guilty. It's like, hey, you want in on this action?
Yeah. There's another nacelle on the other side.
Nacelle,
So after the break, we get, I guess, what's the A plot of this episode?
Ensign, get in here.
Yes,
where the Doctor assigns the ensign to go on a secret mission.
A personal mission. It's a personal mission.
Yes.
Do it fast. Keep it private. Because the ever-grumpy Dr. Tiana, Cation, she's a cat-like species, who usually have tails. She doesn't seem to have hers.
She does. She's got we see in the very last shot she's got a short tail.
Oh,
Either bobbed or like maybe she had an accident. But yes, we do see in one of the last shots in the episode that she has a short tail.
Good eye, Kay. Yep. But yeah, she's scratching. Like she
is scruffy.
She's itchy and jonesing.
Wow, Dr. Ta'ana, I'm honored. Don't be. I just need the lowest ranking officer who will ask the fewest questions.
And she gets sent out to get a family heirloom.
Yeah.
And at this point, I tried to call it. I wrote down, like, okay, this is going to be the...
Oh, wait, you haven't seen this episode before?
No, I hadn't. No.
Oh, no!
So I wrote down, like, it's going to be a flea collar. Because for some reason, like, you know, she can't...
A doctor needs a family.
I know, right? It's whatever. It's like it only works. It's like maybe I don't know. That's what I wrote down from the way she was scratching herself and
all right.
Thinking. I thought like it's going to be. It turns out it's going to be flea collar, and it's like, couldn't you just synthesize some? Yeah, but it's not the same. It's like it doesn't work like that. It's comfort.
I need my granddaddy's old.
I need to have
spray.
the comfort. Yeah, that's exactly that thing. So I got that wrong. I'll readily admit that. It's.
We see Boimler with his commemorative Voy plate.
Yes.
Why do you keep saying Voy? That's what I call Voyager to save time.
It doesn't.
Oh, yeah, it does. It saves so much time.
Who is apparently a huge fan of various, like, Star Trek ships that we've seen before.
Well, no, just the Voyager. I mean, like, he's got the entire... Well, in this case, he's got this, like, carrying case, like one of the ones that people, like, who collect miniatures or other things, like, walk around with their preciouses.
Okay, just call me up by name next time. Seriously.
And this is the only one that he hasn't signed yet. He's got the entire bridge crew. Everyone has signed their plate for him.
And this from is the Janeway all the way down to Kim. That's harsh.
Yeah. Paris is on a handshake tour telling Voy stories for morale. I heard Shaxx talking about it.
It doesn't bug you that he's back from the dead?
This is where we get told that, our bridge crew always come back, and they don't tell us why. Because,
and everyone's fine with it. Everyone's just accepted it because this is not the first time, nor will it be the last, except Sam.
Here we go. Future son from an alternate timeline. Borg rebuilt him. Restored Catra. Mirrorverse universe switcheroo.
Or he was trapped in the Nexus.
Nexus, time ribbon, it's same thing.
Point is, this stuff always happens, even on Voy. Wow, that does actually save a ton of time.
Oh, yes, it does. Harry Kim, famously. The Harry Kim that returns to Earth is not the same as all the other crew. Voy at one point gets split, and only one version of the ship is actually able to make it. But only on the one side, Harry Kim and I think the baby Naomi Wildman had died, and the survivors from the others transferred.
Yeah, isn't that like some sort of black hole episode or something, where one of the two has to be sacrificed in order for the other one to?
I do believe it's Vidians, Chief.
Yes, that is the Vidians in the wonderful season 2 episode Deadlocked, an episode I really hope we get to talk about at some point, because I have a lot of stuff to say about that episode.
Thank you.
Thank you. Turns out that he hasn't been solved, and he tries to make for the bridge. So exit Boimler, and
Mariner, hey! Dr. Ta'ana just gave me a super cool mission, and I could take someone along. You want to come with?
Yeah, we've never been just the two of us. It's never been just us girls.
Yeah, which I think is a little bit of a call out by the writers to themselves for a particular pairing that they haven't made yet. Oh, we're going to keep cutting back and forth between these plot lines, so maybe we should just stick with one. How about we start with Boimler?
Okay.
Who's once again trying to wave at a door, and then a hot jock engineering crew member.
Who kind of acts like he's got a bit of a crush on Boimler.
I know, it's kind of cute.
Hey, maybe you aren't back in the system. I could carry you across the threshold like a bride.
I'm like, yes, please. Yeah, that'd be nice.
But no, Boimler is stubborn about it. He doesn't want to. He still tries to sneak into the turbo lift behind him, but gets his fingers closed in the door. And basically, Boimler goes off on a trip through the Jeffries tubes.
Completely unsecured.
Several shots where he's still climbing again. Next time he is running through some sort of conduit, which then gets lit up by plasma when Tom Paris is invited on the bridge to take the ship for a little spin.
I love how Tom Paris, he's got some extra layers to his animation. He gets a shadow in his jawline where everybody else is 2D. He's got the hot First Contact style uniform. He's got a hip cocked.
Mind if I give her a whirl? I hear these Cali-class engines can purr.
Of course. Just don't send us to the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah. All right.
But Bradward is
There's no plausible reason why anybody should be purging the static right now, and that's exactly what they're doing.
And like a ferret in a synchrocyclotron that cost billions of euros to produce.
Actually, you're confusing two stories.
Oh, am I?
Yes, there's two stories involving the Large Hadron Collider.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
One of them was where it got shut down by a Martin who got into the power coupling and basically shut down the power exchange station that fuels the LHC. And the second,
at the cost of its own life.
At the cost of its own life,
alas,
yes.
Saving us from a terrible future in which it might have created a singularity.
Yes. And the other one is where two engineers didn't follow protocol and they went into the tunnel. But again, they did basically the same thing where one of them went through the door and held the door open for the other, and the other one didn't beep in. So when the first one left and the second one remained in the tunnel, the systems showed the tunnels as being clear. And because
everyone who'd beeped in had beeped out.
Exactly. So according to the logs, there was no one in the tunnel. So they started to fire up the LHC, which is not very good for you.
It's inimical to human life.
Yeah,
even
even when you're not standing in the path of the beam, the amount of radiation down in those tunnels can get very dangerous. So this person is about a mile away from the nearest door.
And a minute away from...
And a few minutes away from the red lights start flashing and they, the beam injection imminent kind of thing. So what he does, he runs to the nearest service panel. I mean, that's essentially what Boimler's doing. And later on, like, pull open the nearest service panel and just start ripping out components until something breaks and you trigger an alarm somewhere, which is going to stop going to stop them from doing the beam injection. Which would have killed him. So, yeah.
Well done.
Computer emergency shutdown!
Authorization not recognized.
You don't need authorization in an emergency!
Good thinking on your feet.
Which is a very good, very similar to what's happening here. It's like he is like stuck in the tube at some point, and the plate starts talking to him, and it's like, oh, just open a panel and just like start fixing things. And it's like,
then why am I gonna die in a Jeffries tube?
You're not. You are Brad Boimler, and you've been in tougher spots than this. Now open up a panel and start figuring out a solution.
Thank you, Tom.
I am a little worried about the fumes in here, though. You know, since you're talking to a plate.
I'm worried about the fumes, and Boimler goes, oh, I kind of like him.
Next time we come back to Boimler, his uniform is torn. He's wearing part of it as a headband, and I'm just like, okay, what happened?
Yeah.
Here, he's done
this escalation.
Yeah.
It's just incredible, because he's also, like, extra tanned. So maybe he got like another dose of lighter radiation.
I guess it's like perhaps there's like, I'm only stuck here because of a glitch in the computer, or maybe I'm the glitch, and it's like no, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, because his whole thing was he wanted to get to the bridge to meet Tom Paris
to get his plate signed
without having to rely on anybody's help to get through his own ship.
Yeah,
and so he. You know what? I retract my warp core. I can super relate to this. Because like once you've committed to something stupid, the only way forward is like deeper.
More stupid. Yeah.
Deeper. Because now, like the road back, the price is just higher. Every time that I escalate, the price is higher now. Well, I wasn't prepared to admit a slight sort of misjudgment, so I'm definitely not prepared to admit an enormous misjudgment.
Followed by pig-headed stubbornness, yeah.
So the only thing that's available to me is even worse commitment.
He tries to smash the plate.
Don't do it, Bradward! Not the plate!
And in doing so, he jams it into the panel, which causes him to come falling down the ceiling onto the bridge.
Where he just starts screaming.
I do exist!
He points at Tom Paris with this mad face, who immediately responds, "Okay's on!"
and starts beating him up.
Tom Paris, can I just say that I'm a really huge fan and I will play for you?
What? Okay, so we're not the only ones who are dealing with just bad decisions.
No.
Hey, Tom, like, what's up with you? That you see someone falling from the ceiling and you immediately attack. It's such a very specific thing.
What's he got against Kazons? I mean,
I guess maybe he's thinking back to like basics, where where Voy, was invaded by Kazon.
Yeah, I guess so.
If I saw someone exploding out of the ceiling, dressed like what it looks like just an enemy of everyone that I knew that tried to kill me on multiple occasions, screaming my name. I mean, just alone, if some random person just like dropped out of my ceiling, screamed my name, I would probably freak out too. That's just like fight or flight or freeze type of a situation. No, I would probably like freak out and probably just freeze. So like, I get it, but like I'm also not Tom Paris, like a man of action. So I'm with Tom here. Sorry.
And it finally resolves with Brad returning to his friends. He's got a black eye, which is way better than having a signed plate.
Although he still has an opportunity, which he's now going to like go out on, and
oh no, computer, open the door.
The door won't open, and Tendi says, no, that's not a door.
Just a wall with a crack in it.
And he goes, I may be concussed. Concussions are not that funny.
Yes. No, definitely not, no. So yes,
that was his
Tom Paris
unnecessary
arc.
Escalation.
Yes.
Which one do you want to do next?
Well, let's go with the second B arc, well, the C arc, I guess, which would be, because that's going to be a short one, which is our cyborg engineer who is trying to figure out what happened to the security chief, to the Bajoran chief. at first he's standing there talking to them, and he's just about to ask him when another ensign pipes up.
Didn't you die? How the heck did you come back to life?
And everyone's shocked.
Yes.
And Shax is like literally experiencing shock, and he's very saddened by it, and Billups protects him. Hey!
So you still having flashbacks?
Having one right now.
Report for immediate reassignment. That's a bit harsh.
It is, totally. But I guess that's the whole thing about the series. Like, you got the bridge crew and the operations, they move around, but they are ineffable beings that nobody really who actually does the work knows what's going on or what happens. They're just like, there's a complete disconnect between.
You're right. Which was the spirit of the namesake of this show, right? There was a Star Trek The Next Generation episode, Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Which, for the first time, focused on just some ensigns, right, who were friends and bucking for promotions and trying to impress, weird sort of demigods like William Riker. Yeah. How do you impress him? And he seems to hate me. And yes, this complete sort of lack of access to people that we, as viewers, are intimately familiar with.
Yeah, and who knows, they're totally not busy with that kind of thing. It's like, crikey, I have to do the performance reviews.
Yeah.
They know everything about those people, but they're just like, it's just stuff that needs to be done, and it's just work. So of course they know who you are. They do your performance review.
Yeah,
they're intimately familiar with your achievements and your assignments. But yeah, it's like it's just not on the same level of connection, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really interesting to discover why Sam wants to know so badly.
Right, because he feels guilty, because the security chief died saving him.
Just gotta focus on work. Come on, focus.
Rutherford!
Where he hallucinates basically all the other options when there's when there's a whole bunch of Shacks all around him, all of them having come back through a different means.
That's a Zeef that a lot of people would really enjoy. He's a good-looking man, that Shax, and seeing quite so many versions of him. I really like the sleeveless Mirror Universe tunic myself.
They tried to harness the powers of his body with a tiny Dyson sphere. A microscopic civilization brought me back to life. Mirror, mirror, mirror. In the Nexus, it's always Christmas.
Oh, God. Amazing. Cramming all these references in, but...
What was the deal with Paul's hair for that 1 year?
That's the one I loved. Even lampshading, their own reference, because I am not someone who enjoys references for their own sake.
No.
Right? I remember when the probably fantastic film Ready Player One came out based on a book that I have not read, and it made me so angry because references are not a substitute for story. But the self-referentiality of this show, in a very meta-textual way, is kind of the point. Star Trek does this to itself all the time, and sort of doing it to excess, like happens on Lower Decks, is a form of self-parody still.
It works fantastically, yes.
It really does.
And take that in contrast with what they did in The Mandalorian, which is chock full of Star Wars reference and lore, which is all completely irrelevant to the story. There's for someone I showed it to my boyfriend who has never much seen almost anything of Star Wars.
And what you see is an awesome sort of science fiction spaghetti western.
Exactly. And you don't need to know anything about Star Wars to still watch that show and follow it. And everything, all the reference, all the background characters, everything is like a relation. It tells a much bigger story, which you don't need. It's great if you see it and if you recognize it, but you don't miss anything if you don't get it. So that's kind of is the other way to get around the referencing for reference's sake. And oh, yes, this is a reference to this, and if you don't know that, then you don't understand half the story.
Yes.
Which is bullshit.
Which does make me think, how is Lower Decks for someone who isn't familiar with Star Trek?
I guess maybe a little bit trickier, but...
Or maybe it's sort of like you referring to Star Wars was really interesting because I was immediately thinking about the cantina scene. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. The very first Star Wars that we've seen. It's the very first time that we see an alien in the Star Wars and in that movie. And it's not just an alien, it's dozens. It feels like hundreds. And they're all different and they're all... It's just an amazing scene.
And they all had their own action figure.
Yeah, and their own comic and their own sort of spin-off video game.
That came later.
Because Star Wars is famously the property where fucking chess pieces have their own comic. They really do.
Yes.
But the first time that you see it, you know none of this. And it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You're just captivated by how big this world feels.
Kaki, I'm sorry. You made a mistake mentioning Star Wars here. I have to correct you on this. if we refer to the 1977 original version of Star Wars before any other edits were done, Jawas and the Tusken Raiders, which are arguably their own species, potentially not their own species, it's a little murky, were still seen before the Cantina scene. So I'm sorry, you're just wrong there. You should know better than to bring up Star Wars and talk confidently, because I will correct you on this. That is what I do, Kaki. I'm sorry.
And this arc is finally resolved because he swan dives into the elevator with Shaq, and he just goes,
I know I'm not supposed to ask you how you came back from the dead, but I know it was my fault that you died, and maybe if you tell me how you came back, I won't feel as guilty anymore.
Turbo lift halt.
And that's just really beautiful. Like, I need your help.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to invade your privacy for its own sake, just out of curiosity, but I need this from you.
Yeah. And he is like, well, it wasn't your fault. That's what he starts with. And he doesn't explain why, what was the cause.
Well, he says it was his duty to help.
Right. But there's a reason we don't tell anyone how he came back, because it is apparently horrific.
Yes.
We're sparing you dark truths about scientific depravity that would haunt you for the rest of your days.
Yes.
Wow. Once you know, you can never go back. And Sam says,
works for me. Tell me.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Works for me. Tell me. Like so many young people who really don't sort of acknowledge the consequences of things that they're committing for. He's so positive.
And it goes off on a complete weird rant about like having to fight on the mountains and the faceless images of your father, and
death is the first thing that... Wait, you know about the Black Mountain, right?
Yeah. And it just goes... It's completely lampshaded, but he is quite horrified about it. As we see, he's a bit shaken when we get to the last scene of the episode where they're all together.
So now, much like our Chief Greg, who talked about a bunch of bullshit before he got to the point and explained why he wanted us to watch this episode, we're getting to the main plot of this episode. Yes. It's the girls' night, and they're very positive about it.
Girls trip.
Which, for those of us who are familiar with certain types of drama and comedy, if a relationship that we're being introduced to starts really good, it's going to fucking unravel.
Very good point, yes.
If it starts off very antagonistic, they're going to learn something.
They're going to be best friends, yes.
So that sort of threat of them being really enthusiastic about going off and as a couple of girls, that really loomed over this for me.
Yeah. So what they're playing on entirely is that one of them is constantly hanging out with Rutherford, and the other one is constantly hanging out with... Boimler, yes. Yep. And there's even a little bit of, I thought you and Boimler were a bit of a thing. And she's like, ew, no.
Well, no, as if, never.
But you practically sleep in the same bunk.
Oh, ew. Oh, no, we don't. They have to go to this planet, Quailor 4, I think it was.
Yes, to pick up the family heirloom from the Doctor.
And it rules. It's basically Space Vegas. Do you see there's a giant neon sign for quarks?
Yep, there is. I saw that, yeah. And there was something else that jumped out at me. I'm pretty sure that like the Zebulon sisters is also references to something. There was something else on that.
Zebulon? Oh, that feels like a Hitchhiker's Guide reference.
Oh, it might just be...
Chief, what's Zebulon?
No, it does say Zebulon, yes. No, Zebulon. Zebulon's... Oh.
Belay that.
Okay, Zebulon's... There was a role-playing game, which was the remake of... Oh, it was an old TSR game. I can't remember. But it was called...
Chief, stand by. He's losing confidence.
The book was called Zebulon's Guides to Frontier Space, which was a original... It was a redo of a D&D-like space RPG, also by TSR. So, and that's where I definitely know the word Zebulon from.
Chief, warm up the tractor beam. We may need to drag him out of this rabbit hole that he's into.
A lot of my middle and high school time was spent with those books.
Oh, I know what you were seeing. Vic Fontaine.
Oh, who's Vic Fontaine?
Oh, okay, I guess not. Vic Fontaine was the sort of Frank Sinatra-like host of the holodeck in the later seasons of Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yes, I remember him. I know the character. I didn't know. I wouldn't have caught the reference.
And Mariner is super excited about, like...
Quailor is awesome, by the way. You can get any drink in the form of a slushie. We gotta get, 5 slushies.
We're already seeing, this rift between them, because Tendi is very mission-focused. She wants that to succeed. And Mariner is still very rebellious and, carpe diem.
That's her character. Who cares? I won't say she fails upwards, because she's still an ensign. But it's
very self-destructive.
Oh, absolutely. But that's her character arc. She's like, I'm just the daughter of the captain. So whatever. I guess she has this fatalistic view about like whatever I do it's going to be because of my mom or something, which is kind of funny because then she does all kind of rebellious, stupid shit, and she kind of gets away with it. Not because of her mom, I think.
No.
It's never really made clear how or what, but Tandy actually comments on that. It's like,
I don't get to make mistakes like you do. It was hard getting into the academy.
As an Orion, she has some racial biases to deal with as well.
Yes,
as we discover in this episode.
I mean, yes, I guess she has to work twice as hard to get the same recognition.
I guess we're seeing their core flaws here expressed very subtly, honestly. Like Mariner, she acts out until she meets resistance because she wants that resistance for whatever reason. Like that's how she wants to operate. And she just escalates until somebody pushes back, which is a terrible anti-pattern. And Tendi is a pleaser who hopes that things will work out and trusts in systems around her and minimizes her own concerns. And in this case, that means going along with Mariner. And it seems fine. You get some slushies, you have a little fun.
And they show up to this pawn shop, which is tended by a Studley, one of the cat people. What's the name of that species again?
Cation.
Cation,
is their species.
It's like a pawn shop or like a... I mean...
It's got a vest and an earring.
Of course, he's got an earring, and she's like, "Oh, I want this thing." And they start nerding out a little bit of
Klingon acid punk.
Yeah.
And this concert that he saw, and we actually had like dishonored Klingons lamenting their failure. Whoa, that was amazing! It totally was.
Yeah.
They're really broing out.
But I'll go get that thing, so you can see him going on, and that's where this goes.
You're into Klingon acid punk? Are you kidding? Why even listen to Klingon if it isn't punky or acidic?
Why don't we know this about each other? And it's like, yeah, they kind of like see themselves as friends, and then during this episode, they keep discovering things that they don't know about each other, which actually leads to almost antagonism at some point.
Yeah.
Especially from Tendi.
You don't know me at all.
Well, you don't know me.
Kind of weird, but...
No, I think it's... I get what you mean, but I think it's a really good sort of... They're externalizing their own difficulties communicating with each other.
Yeah.
And blaming someone else for not knowing them, whereas their actual problem is that they don't
talk to each other,
enough.
Well, I mean, this comes up several times. And like, why don't you know that? Like, I talk about this all the time. Yeah, just not to me. Like,
exactly.
Tendi talks to Rutherford about it, and Mariner talks to Bollinger.
Boimler.
Close enough.
The package they receive is huge. It's this giant coffin-shaped crate.
Yeah. At this point, I'm like, okay, it's not
a flea collar.
Which I was...
Did you have a backup?
I did not, no.
So they drag it back onto the shuttle.
We don't have to wait for very long, because Mariner is, like, curious and, again, pushing out, like, until she meets resistance, as you just said. And she pops it open, and it's like some sort of totem or effigy, which is... at first not recognized until...
It looks like a Cation, for some reason, with pursed lips.
Kissy lips, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we soon learned why it has those pursed lips. Because they have
Tendi recognizes it.
It's not a statue. It's a Cation libido post.
Libido? Wait, is that a sex thing?
Yeah, it totally is a sex thing.
Oh, look at those claw marks. They're like from her horny great-grandma.
Oh, yes. And she's like, oh, I'm touching it with my bare hands. And
it's like touching Beverly's grandma candle.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes, very good. Yeah.
And he says, like, hi, Tendi. My name is Jeremy. I'm an important cultural sex toy from the past.
But no,
I'm sort of making him like he's probably also like this is an effigy of a counselor from Deep Space 69 in order to Brysa.
Wow.
Hey, I'm Jeremy. That was my friend Stephanie. I think Stephanie was
Stephanie.
The first sort of counselor. Yeah, Stephanie. Oh, did I have a surname? I don't think I ever gave Stephanie a...
Cocky, please remember your own lore on this. I don't have to remember the lore of Starbase 69 on this. I really don't.
Stephanie Chekhov. Yeah, how about that? Sort of landed in the lore. And this is my bro Jeremy. He's a Cation. He's nude modeling for a libido post.
Save it for the deleted scene.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But in their sort of attempt to delicately get this priceless artifact back into its crate, they drop it and the head comes off.
And the head comes off. And like, oh no, it's like...
Tendi screams!
No!
Good scream.
No. This can't be happening.
Maybe she won't notice.
It's the face.
No, it's fine. Like, I've wrecked other things before. Like, Worf's mechleth was broken, and I fixed it before he even noticed. And this is another one, like, oh, you were on Deep Space Nine? Yes. Like, this is my 5th ship. Like, technically Deep Space Nine is not a ship, but... I mean,
yeah, 5th posting. Yep.
Yeah.
Unless she was serving on the Defiant.
Well, she says Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, she does.
And if you don't really... Oh, actually, was the Defiant like ever out on its own? It didn't have its own command. It was always like...
Yeah,
Defiant is more like a spruced up shuttle, I guess, because...
I was always really confused about this because it seems to just sit around unless the command crew of the space station abandons their posts.
Yeah, and goes like... fly off and use the Defiant, yes.
That always seems so weird. Why doesn't it have its own captain and then do local missions a lot of the time?
I mean, a ship like that size should probably have a commander. It might just be like a lieutenant commander or something, not a full captain commanding it, but... it's...
Weird decisions.
I know a fixer on Bonestel who can repair anything. It's a quick warp, then we'll head back to the Cerritos with a non-ruined post for Ta'ana.
But yes, it's going to take 50 strips of gold-plated latinum to...
Because he knows Mariner, and so for you, it's double.
Yeah.
How are we going to get that? Well, Mariner...
We're going to play some Domjot.
Gotta hustle.
Yeah.
Hustle some Nauticans. A species that we remember, they're the ones that Captain Picard got into a fight with when he was younger.
We just need to find the biggest, dumbest guys in here.
Bit racist there, but okay. They're playing Domjot, which it's a sort of a pinball pool game. Yeah, pinpool.
Yes.
Where the cue has like a sheath that you push the spear through.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I think Domjot was introduced in DS9, wasn't it?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's like...
No. In that episode with Picard going back to his younger self. I think he was playing Domjot. Oh,
I don't know.
Kaki, you really need to stop second-guessing yourself here because you're just undermining yourself. You got to be more confident because you're correct. The first instance of Domjot was in the TNG episode of Tapestry, but it did have the most experiences of anything or even just mentions in DS9. It was mentioned in, it looks like, about 7 episodes. So yeah, really popular in DS9.
Every time I think of Nauticans, I just think of these Nauticans. I think they're in Quark's bar and they're playing darts, using each other's chest as dartboards, and just throwing darts into each other's chest. And I'm like, okay.
I guess that works. A fight breaks out over the accusing of cheating, even though they win fair and square.
Yes, but it's the hustling thing. Mariner claimed that this was her first time.
You claimed you were only a beginner.
Yeah, I'm beginning to school your ugly ass.
How dare you?
Hey, no fighting. I just got that table rejotted.
I mean, you clearly don't know much about playing Domjot if you're like, someone goes, oh, I'm only a beginner, let's have a wager. Because yeah, I'm only a beginner too. Of course I am. Like anybody who says that, you know that you're going to get hustled. That's...
Maybe we just have some, like, really ethical Nauticans here.
Okay, maybe they are, yeah. I don't know. I don't know enough about Nausicaa to be able to tell if they were being...
There's a Tellarite who stops in, hey, no fighting.
He's the owner of the bar.
I just had the table rejotted.
Yes. Okay. So apparently a thing that you do with Domjot tables?
Well... You know, you can have it dommed too, but then you get a different kind of... Might be a health and safety violation
it affects the play. It affects the play of the show. Maybe it's like a bowling alley when they oil the lanes, you know, so you get different oil patterns to get different effects on the spin effects on the ball. So I guess maybe that's what happens on a Domjot table as well. Headcanon.
Like it. I like it.
She basically ends up throwing the latinum at them and running off. Because, yes, it like... You said this comedy of errors, which we had with... the whole affairs of the ship not recognizing Bollinger.
There's a really important moment here where Mariner proposes Tendi as her champion to solve this dispute. And the Nautican, quite racistly, says, no, we don't want that because she's just going to use her pheromones.
And she acts all offended.
But, could you, just, juice it a bit? Just a little?
Mariner? Of course not. Not even that kind of Orion.
Anyway, can you do it anyway? Yeah.
Which is hugely offensive to Tendi.
Yes.
That's a racial stereotype. She said, I'm not that kind of Orion because, of course, there are many different kinds of species.
Speaking of that same speciesism that we get later, because, the next shot's there in the shuttle.
Where the hell are you, Ensign? My fur feels like it's covered in poison.
But the statue is still broken. And I was like, oh, this was supposed to be my chance. And now I'm just trying to show that we're not just thieves and pirates. But oh, wait, I've got a cousin who works at a thief and pirate outpost where we can,
A lot of humans, they were all thieves and pirates. Wait. My cousin works in a thieves' den and a pirate outpost in this sector. He might be able to help us out.
Stereotypes do have an origin. Doesn't make them any more valuable. And that's the next place that they go. But it's going to be difficult for Mariner because these Orions would probably kill her just for being human.
Yeah.
So she has a plan, though.
So she gets a quick little makeover. She gets hypo-sprayed with something which turns her skin green.
Yep. She gets basically green-faced.
Yes.
Honestly, this feels wrong. I mean, just please don't take any pictures of me.
This is
this
is really not okay.
Well, the whole talk like a pirate thing, saying that was a bit of a bad joke, I guess. Like, why are you talking like that?
I wonder if
I'm
Tendi
allergic.
was hazing her.
Yeah.
How you be doing today, me fellow Orion?
Why are you talking like that?
And she immediately starts big-dogging, doming her cousin.
Yes, this hot, bearded, muscular sort of Smith-looking that Mariner is immediately into.
Yep.
And we can totally see why.
Andy, you gotta warn me if we're gonna be meeting up with a sexy bad boy. That's my type. Well, one of my types.
But yeah, Tendi shows a side of herself that we don't know about, and a side of Orion culture. Extremely dominant, extremely demanding.
Mistress of the Winter constellation.
And Mariner's like, whoa!
I don't go by that name anymore. Yeah, I left that. That's a name I left behind a long time ago.
This is totally doing it for Mariner.
Yeah.
She's
that's where we learned that her name is Divana, which again is like causes a bit of a back and forth thing.
Divana? Is that some other weird title you've got?
It's my name.
Oh.
What? You don't even know my first name?
I thought it was Tendi, like with no last name, like Odo.
This gets interrupted by her makeup wearing off.
Yeah.
She's wearing false green. Grab her.
False green. Which, yeah.
Cue a bit of a door comedy running around.
A door farce,
yes.
And trying to climb over this angry mob. Hey, can't you use your dominant voice? Yeah, it doesn't work on mobs.
Yes. Which you would know if you knew anything about Orions.
Which is a sort of central conflict between them. No, it's not a conflict between them. Each of them is sort of reflecting their faults on somebody else.
Yeah.
Which is a way for a lot of young people, certainly speaking from my experience, to sort of discover yourself by first externalizing.
Right, yes.
And then finally realizing, oh, wait, no, actually, it's me that was the problem.
Yeah.
If only there were quicker ways to get there, huh?
Yep. There's a bit of a scene where they have to get back up to the launch tower where the shuttle is on top. While the mob is down below trying to cut the cables that they're using to climb up. There's a moment where the effigy breaks into two pieces.
It just gets worse and worse.
It just gets worse and worse, yeah.
And Mariner's hand slips. Tendi grabs her, but the weight of the effigy and Mariner herself.
And she actually goes like, no, take the statue. She kind of is prepared to sacrifice herself at this point for the...
An offer that Tendi declines. She cares much more about saving her friend from the angry mob below than even fulfilling the mission and achieving the approval that she so desperately wants.
From the Doctor. The statue gets dropped, she gets pulled up.
And they fly away from
There's not much of the thing remaining.
It's in tatters.
Well, what's left of it is like there's maybe less than half of it is still there.
And now is the time when they sort of confront, hey, we went into this thinking that we were real good friends. We actually aren't.
No.
Or, we weren't.
And she gets like...
Every time I open up, people get promoted and take off. It's better to just keep it surface level and never have friends instead of always losing them.
It's a pattern that she certainly contributed to.
Oh, of course,
as Mariner.
Yes.
But she sees like Tendi, this capable, smart woman who is definitely going to get promoted out of her life.
Yeah.
And Tendi also like observes from herself.
I'm always so busy making everyone else happy that I never open up. Now you know more about me than Rutherford does.
But yeah, that's not neglect. That's just a failure to communicate.
And I love that line. It's like, and I was curious, and I'll just have to tell her that I was curious and accidentally broke her post. It'll be interesting getting in trouble. Never done that before, which is like...
But Mariner has her back.
Of course, because Mariner always has a way out of the problem.
Buckle up, Divana. We might have been co-workers this morning, but now we're friends. Computer, ramming speed.
Ramming the shuttle into the Cerritos, which, bink, bounces off the shield with
damage report. Nothing.
Not even negligible. Just nothing. It's such a boink. It's such a pointless little impact.
And Mariner firmly, squarely is taking the blame for everything.
Yep.
Again, knowing that she's like, what are they going to do? Like, they're not going to fire me. They're not going to demote me because I can't, because I'm already an ensign.
And she's perfectly willing to take one for the team.
Blatant lie. It's like, there was a bee in there.
That's such a good lie, though. That there's a bee, and she keeps keeping up with the bee story. How did the bee get in there?
You should produce the bee, prosecute the bee, not me.
Demote the bee. That's how you get away with things.
Yeah.
Just commit to the lie, as stupid as it is. Just never let up.
Yeah.
But Tendy's still going to admit to Tiana that she did it, even though she has. It's perfectly clear, right? It was damaged during transit because of Mariner's reaction to a bee.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to take that way out.
Also, if that was the true story, then all the pieces would be in that box and not just like less than half of it. But
I don't care about that old post. What I needed was the box.
Yeah. Tips it out, this priceless heirloom.
Yeah. Well, just heirloom.
Tips it all out, and then she just sits in the box and pokes her head out.
Yeah.
Enormous eyes.
Pushes the lid open, and here you can see the fact that she's got a tail.
Yeah. Because that was the therapeutic value that she was after.
She needed some box time.
Yeah,
like, you can't just replicate the box. You can't just like any old box. It has to be that box.
That special box. Yes. And now everyone's back together in the brig.
Yep.
Hanging out with an imprisoned mariner
and talking a little bit about Klingon acid punk.
Proud Boimler walks through the door.
Check it out. No more glitch. I'm authorized.
And he's off to have drinkies with Paris and hopefully still get his plate signed.
And the only one who isn't really connecting, well, Boimler because of his concussion, but Rutherford is sitting there knowing dark truths.
Yes, knowing that horrible, horrible things happen to good people. and she's like, oh, boo, and like completely dismissed by Mariner, and like Rutherford's just sitting there like kind of like shrinking in on himself.
Yeah, it's played for comedy, but it's...
Or maybe they're just sparing us from knowing horrible, horrible things that happen to good people.
Yeah, it definitely isn't that. They're just jerks.
Showing that they still have a lot of communication to do in order to become truly good friends.
Oh, but I've got this cool sound here. This one's one about a Klingon who eats his own hand.
Play it.
I thought it should have been a Klingon who eats his own head, but that's...
And that's a reference to what?
Nothing specific.
How do you eat your own head, though?
Yeah, I mean, that's the joke, isn't it?
Oh, is that a Zen koan?
I guess. I think it's a Charles Stross thing that occasionally pops up in his books, where it's like, never eat anything bigger than your own head. It's like advice that keeps popping up occasionally.
That's solid advice.
I know, right? And, like, okay, to be honest, like, we now know of the existence of Klingon acid punk.
Yes.
Which, to me, sounds so much worse than Klingon opera.
Oh... Why?
I mean, okay, so Klingon opera is the kind of thing like a friend of mine once said, like, I thought that like Wagner was a little bit too bombastic, so now I listen to Klingon opera.
He wasn't bombastic enough. There has been a performance of a Klingon opera called and it was in the Netherlands, actually.
Oh,
yeah. Some Klingonists down south, and there was actually a concert hall. I think they only had like 2 or 3 performances.
Yeah.
That would have been worth it.
Yes, I suppose. I mean, it depends on, was it an original or was it an adaptation?
Well, they're all... Hey, it's a made-up thing, right?
I know, but like,
Someone wrote it.
Right, but I mean, was it like something like I mean, I don't think Shakespeare
like
ever...
Klingon La Traviata. No,
exactly.
Yeah.
What would be a good opera to... I mean, Wagner is like the obvious choice, and therefore you shouldn't go with it. So you need to get some more sort of... I mean...
I kind of want to go PDQ Bach.
Oh, well, that's not opera.
Hang on.
Is it?
Well, it fulfills all the requirements. PDQ Bach, a fictional creation of a music theorist, like pretending to be the lost works of Johann Sebastian Bach's 18th and least popular son, who grew up in the German town of Baden-Baden-Baden. Who was famous for operas like Romeo and Juliet and Bob and Ethel.
But no, seriously, I mean, for Klingon opera, like something like Othello's an opera, and that's based on...
Othello's a play, man.
It's a play?
Yeah, there's no singing in Shakespeare.
Oh, okay.
There's singing in opera.
Then maybe it's something like...
the Ring der Nibelungen?
No, that's Wagner again.
Well,
that's too obvious. So maybe something like the Barber of Sevilla, you know.
That's a comedy, bud.
I know. That's why it makes it like
Cleon comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, in the original sort of Greek sense of drama, like a comedy was just a play in which not everyone dies versus a tragedy, which is a play where everyone dies. Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Oh, what would make a good Cleon opera? What would they enjoy?
I know. I mean, okay, the Zauberflöte would probably not be very funny.
The magic flutes.
I mean, okay, hang on.
The Lion King.
That's Hamlet in opera, yeah.
It's basically Hamlet with songs.
Yeah, and lions.
Yeah, they totally dig it. And the hyena without honor.
Don Quixote would be a good... that would be a good
that's a good
opera.
question, because he's on a noble quest.
Yeah.
Like, he's doomed. Oh, this is an intriguing question.
You got that scene where his father shows up from the dead. It's like...
Whoa, yes.
Don Quixote would be a great opera to see in Klingon, I think.
I think Sancho Panza should be played by a Vulcan then.
Or a Ferengi.
New segment. We'll see what happens with it. But in the meantime, do you have any deleted scenes that you believe were shot and then cut from this episode?
Yes, I think that there's a scene in between the... on the Orion outpost, Murderers and Thieves, where they actually had a Smith guy coming in and taking him like, oh, well, yes, this is like I can't fix this. And it's like, why not? Like, I mean, like I'm a metal worker here, I can't do that. But I've got a buddy out back who's like a wood turner and who's now, who can, like, and they've got this big log of wood that they have to like turn into this thing. And it just basically turns into this kind of like profile thing, kind of like a vase, but a profile of the doll, because like, you know, it's a carved statue. You can't like turn that on a lathe. So if
okay, yes, he has a rudimentary lathe. Yes,
and it kind of you see those pursed lips sticking out there, and it kind of looks like a weird Greco column, and the guy like, nah, she's never going to buy this.
That's so obscure and specific, dude. Yeah, I think mine's going to be that maybe a lot of people here have had a rotation on Starbase 69, dude. So you have Jeremy, who posed nude for a life cast for his libido post.
It's Jeremy.
Oh, totally. And the sort of jock who wanted to carry Boimler in the bridal carry.
I know. It's just like it's one of those family heirloom. It's like one of those statues that they have on Ryza, but then for the it's
I showed you my Horgon. Please respond.
Exactly.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Well, and that's it for an episode full of box action, which has really a lot going for it, but which our chief engineer, Greg, only wanted to watch because he could super relate to it, because he also has a cat, BD1, Barnabas Denzel 1, who's a little void boy, and he's absolutely wonderful from everything that I've seen of him.
Like, total little shoulder sitter, which is why Howie got his name.
Oh... Except, like, his taste in toys is like he disdains the wonderful things that his father purchases for him and acquires in order to enrich his little life.
But will sit in the box.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wants to sit in the box. He wants to play with Chief. I think his favorite toy is like grape twigs.
Oh, yeah, they're bouncy.
Yeah. And Kay, much like your little Pipster over there, Pip,
yes,
or the defendant, as I like to call her.
Her favorite toy is 2 squares of toilet paper wadded up into a little ball.
Yeah, she goes nuts over over the place.
She actually brings them back. Like, we can play fetch with those. I'll just like toss them out, and she'll bat them around the room for a little bit, and then she picks it up in her mouth and like comes walking over and then carefully take it. There's very little no take, only throw with that. She usually lets you take it, and then you throw it away, and then she goes off again, and it's like, so yes, playing fetch with the cat.
Oh, she's such a good cat, and I can see her over your shoulder just sitting in jail.
She's been sulking. She's like, we put her in jail because,
she's facing away, but she's got her ears tilted toward her. So we'll give her a little playtime as a reward for finally being absent for a bit.
You know what I'm going to do?
Oh, tell me.
I'm leaving Starfleet.
Energize!
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode with the friends Kay and Kaki, production and editing by Chief Engineer Greg, and music by Fox Amore. Join us next time for Discovery Season 1, Episode 7, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. Once again, here's a clip from our Patreon exclusive watch-along discussing family business. I swear they just use like upholstery fabric because
I can see where you're coming from. Yeah,
pillows like Brunt. Oh right, yeah. Thing.
hey, that's totally possible.
Yeah.
Like, I remember reading that the costume department for Deep Space Nine just bought bolts and bolts and bolts of wild fabrics and then used them for lots of aliens. And like internally there was some discussion like, hey, whoa, different aliens wearing the same fabrics, right? Shouldn't we separate them? And then they sort of realized, no, everybody goes to like Garrus.
The same commerce planet.
People go to Deep Space Nine. These are just local popular styles.
Planet, yes.
Yeah, to the Gapland, but like this, maybe they're, you know, Bajoran fashions, and people who come here, like, they buy some clothes in whatever's hip here.
And, you know, like, you know, fashion designers are always looking for new stuff, and like, they, like, going to other cultures and getting their stuff is like, would be like, oh, what I can do something with this. I can have a Bajoran inspired or a Ferengi inspired or.
Well, Ferengi inspired is like really like high waisted pants because they're all like
it's
like the pants are like all hidden by where the
headcanon. They're waders because they're from a very wet planet.
Oh wow! I kind of love that. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
I know, right?
I really love that. Now, Ferengi women's fashion.
I mean, to me, to me, like a lot of like all those chains and stuff, like that might also almost be symbolic for the way that they're being oppressed.
Oh, wow, that's a really depressing thought. I mean, I see what you mean. But
or the other piece of headcanon I can make that those aren't rings at the bottom, but that's just her like glasses, which you can just like put up on her. They're just really heavy. They're just really heavy chains that people hold their glasses on.
She's got two monocles on a chain hanging from her ears. That's great.
Two attached monocles.
It's like spectacles.
Yeah.
And pince nez,
Is that how you say it, right?
Yeah, something like that.
There's a nose pincher.
Yeah.
Right? It's like Samuel L. Jackson wears in The Matrix.
Samuel Jackson in The Matrix?
No, he isn't, is he?
No, it's the other one.
Lawrence
Can
Fishburne.
you edit that?
Yes.
Can you edit Lawrence Fishburne? Oh my god. Can you imagine what that would have been like?
Or Lawrence Fishburne and then Yahya something.
Abdul Mateen III.
Yes.
What a revelation.
Who speaking of fantastic costumes, every single costume he wears in that movie is just like sploosh. Like just in a costume perspective, sploosh.
I'm just right now getting a mental like gif of his thing where he's in this construct. He made himself like a delicious cocktail, and then he just does a little twirl, and suddenly he's in the dojo, and he's got this fantastic gi on, or whatever that's called. I don't know. It's elaborate, and he's still holding his drink, and he just takes a little sip. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's been a lot of years since I so badly wanted to be and someone.
That was a clip from our Patreon exclusive watch along this month. If you're interested in listening to that, you can go to joyoftrek.com/links to support us on Patreon, or to send us your recommendations, or to find us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to Joy of Trek, and we'll see you out there.